Hello everyone. In this part, we're going to work on the conversation UI. So first we're going to get the user from the use auth hook. Like this. Now let me just move this data below this line, and the data we're going to get is the conversation ID, the name of the conversation, participants, avatar, and the type. The participants are stringified participants. If you remember previously, when we moved to this screen from the conversation item, we use json.stringify, so we're gonna have to parse this data in this screen. Then we're gonna get the avatar, the type of the conversation. So here we're gonna create the participants from the stringified participants, so that we have the array of the participants data, and we're gonna take this as a string like this. Now I'm gonna create a variable as the conversation avatar, so this will be different for the direct and the group conversations. So by default this will be the avatar, and we're gonna use a variable is direct to see if we are in a direct conversation. Then we're gonna change this to the other participants avatar, so we're gonna get the other participant here as well. So if the conversation is direct, then the participant, we're gonna display the other participants avatar, so we're gonna have to get the other participant. If the ID does not match to the current user, that means it's the other participant in the conversation. So here we're getting this error. Okay, let's just do this. Okay, and let's make this any. Okay, great. Now we have the other participant and is strike property. So here we're gonna make a condition. If is direct is true and we have the other participant, then we're gonna change the conversation avatar to the other participant's avatar like this. Now we're gonna get the conversation name, and that's the same as the conversation avatar. It will be based on is direct. If it's true, then we're gonna display the other participant's name as the conversation name, but if it's not, then the name will be the group name, because we'll be in the group conversation. Okay, so let's go into the conversation, and before we design this, let me just copy and paste the style sheet for this conversation component, and let me just import these variables. I will show you these styles whenever we use these. Vertical scale, and then we have the spacing horizontal, and finally scale function. Okay, so here I'm gonna add the background pattern, so show pattern as true, and then the background opacity will be 0.5. Let's save this. There we have the pattern. Now let's remove this line, and here I'm gonna use the keyboard avoiding view component, so that we don't have any keyboard issues, because this will show an input in the component. So for the behavior property, this will be different for iOS and the Android. If it's iOS, then we're gonna use padding. If it's Android, we're gonna use height. Then let me just add this style as the container for this view. So for the container, we have flex one, so that it takes full space. You can just copy this. Then here I'm gonna use the header component. We already have this component, so let me just import header from the components. Here first we're gonna use the style as the header. So this is just the padding around the top, bottom, and the horizontal, so you can just copy this. Then we're gonna use the icon in the header that will show on the left side. So here I'm gonna create a view, give this a style as the header left. Then inside this, first I'm gonna use the back button. Let's close this. We're gonna have to import the view component as well. And for the header left, we have these styles, so that everything shows into the center. We will add the name and the avatar later, but for now let's just close this header and see how it looks. So there we have the back button. Now after the back button, I'm gonna add the avatar of the user or the group. So let's use the avatar component, give it a size of 40. Then URI will be conversation avatar as a string. And then I'm gonna add is group property. So this will be if type equals to group or not. Then let's close it and save this. There we can see the avatar of the user. Then after this, I'm gonna display the name of the conversation. So let's use typo. Here, let's display conversation name. This can be the username or the group name. So let's give it a color of white, and then font weight of 500, and then the size will be 22. Let's save this. So there we can see the name of the conversation. It will either be the other participant's name or the group name. So for the right icon, I'm just gonna use a button that will show 3 dots. So first we're gonna import the icon. So let's go to home, and here let's just copy this line and then paste it here. Okay, so the icon we're gonna use is called dots 3 outline vertical. Very strange name, but we're gonna use this icon. And let's give it a weight of fill, and then the color will be white. Let's close this and save this. Okay, there we can see the icon. It won't be functional, but it was looking good in the design, so I just added it anyway. Now after the header, we're gonna show the messages. So here will be the message container. So for now, I'm just gonna copy and paste some dummy messages that we're gonna use for now, but later we will change that. So here is a list of the dummy messages, and each message contains the ID, the sender data, the content, the date of the message, and if it's the message from my side or the other side. So that's what we're gonna use for now. So let me just go to the messages, and here I'm gonna use a view, and let's give it a style as the content. So for the content, we have the following style properties. You can just copy these. These are the same ones as the content on the home screen. It will be rounded from the top side. So you can just copy these. Then inside this, I'm gonna use a flat list component to render all the messages. First, let's add the data as the dummy messages. Then I'm gonna use a property called inverted as true. So we're gonna display this list as inverted so that we don't have to reverse the messages. It will already show the latest messages on the bottom. So that is very helpful, and it's also helpful for the keyboard avoiding view as well. Show vertical scroll indicator as false, then the content container styles as the message container message content, and then I'm gonna use the render item. So this will give us a callback with the item, and we're gonna use the message item component that I will create in a second. So then we're gonna use a property key extractor, and we're gonna use item.id. Each message will have an ID. So let's close this. Okay, so for the messages content, we have the following properties of the styles, just the padding around the container. So you can just copy these. Now to fix this error, I'm gonna create this message item component inside the components folder. Let's just create a functional component. Let's save it and use it here. And let's also pause the item, and we're gonna use isDirect property inside this. So let me just pause this as well. Okay, so let's save this, and there we can see the message content, and the list is showing from the bottom because we use inverted as true. Now let's go into the message item, and here we're gonna receive these properties. So we have the item and isDirect, where item is the type of message props, and then the isDirect is a boolean. So for the message item, we have the following properties and their types. So you can just copy these or find the link of this file in the video description. Now first we're gonna create the current user. So let's get this from the use auth hook. Then we're gonna create a variable to see if it's the message from my side or the other side. So is me, and then you can find this on the item for now, but later we're gonna change this. So now let me just copy and paste the style sheet for this component and quickly import these variables. Okay, so here for the container, I'm gonna give this a style as the message container. So for the message container, we have the maximum width as 80%, then the gap and flex direction as row, and this will be for each message item. Now we're gonna change the styles if it's a message from my side or the other side. So if is me is true, then we're gonna provide my message styles. Otherwise, we will use their message styles, and we already have this in the style sheet. These styles just align the message container to the side where it belongs. So my message will show on the right side and their message will show on the left side. Then after this, I'm gonna make a condition where if it's not my message and is direct is false, then I'm gonna display the user avatar. And this case is only for the group participant messages. So if we go into the group, here I want to display the username and the group avatar who sent this message. So for that case, I want to display the user avatar. So let's give it a size of 30. The URI will be null for now, and the style will be a message avatar. So let's close this and save this. There we can see the user avatar, and for the message avatar we have the following styles. You can just copy these, and this is only for the group conversations. It won't display in a direct conversation because in a direct conversation we already know who we are talking to, so we don't need the avatar there. Now after this, I'm gonna add another view for the message bubble, and let's give it a style as the message bubble. This is the default style for this container, and we have the border radius, padding, and the gap. But we're gonna change the background color based on if it's my message or other guy's message. So if is me is true, then we're gonna add the style as my bubble, and if it's not, then their bubble. So for these styles, we just change the background styles to differentiate between the messages. So let's just close this. Now inside this, first I'm going to display the name of the sender. So let's use a typo and give this a color as neutral 900. And then let's give it a font weight of 600, and the size will be 13. Now let's display the item.sender.name. So let's save this, and there we can see the sender name, but I don't want to see me on my side. I just want to see other guy's username. So let's add a condition here. If it's not me, only then it will display the sender name. So let's just copy this and paste it here. Let's save this. So now it won't show my name, but only other users' name. And if we go into the group conversation, actually we do need to add one more condition. If is direct is false, we're gonna have to add the AND operator here. Let's save this. So the reason we are doing this because we want to display the username and the user avatar only in the group conversation. So it won't display in a direct conversation because we already know who we are talking to. So that's all good. Now after this, I'm gonna add the message content. So here let's make a condition. If we have item.content, then we're gonna use a typo and give this a size of 15. And then let's use item.content. This will be the message content. So if we go into the message, there we can see the messages. So if I just comment this, this is before and this is after. So now we have my messages and the messages from the other side as well. If we go into the direct messages, we don't see the username and the user avatar. I mean, you can show the user avatar and the name in the direct conversations, but I just thought it made sense that we already know who we are talking to. So let's just not show it. So let's add another typo here, and that is for the date of the message. Let's align it to the end. size 11, font weight 600, and the color as neutral 600. And then here is gonna be item dot created at. Let's save this. So there we have the date on each message. So this is looking pretty good. Let's go back and go to a direct conversation. Everything looks good. So the only thing missing is an input component at the bottom where we can type the message. So that is what we're gonna do next. So let's go into the home component, the conversation component. And after we display all the messages, here we're gonna create another view for the footer. Let's give it a style as the footer. And for the footer, we just have some padding on the top and the bottom. And then inside this, we're gonna use the component input. We already have that. And the value will be the message. And this is the state that we're gonna create to save the message. Let's close this. And here let's create the state message and set message. By default, this is going to be an empty string like this. So let's use it here. Here we have the message. Then we're gonna add a function on change text. We just pause a set message. And then we're gonna have the container styles for this input. Let's give it a padding left as the spacing horizontal of 10. Then the padding right. We're gonna use a lot of padding right. So let's use scale of 65. And then the border will be 0. Okay, so let's add the placeholder. This will say type message. So let's close this and save this. Okay, so there we can see the message input. Now we're gonna add an icon on the left side. So we have the icon property on this input. So if we go inside there, you can see we are displaying the icon. So we're gonna pass an icon to pick the images. So we're gonna use touchable opacity, give it a style as the input icon. Then I'm gonna add on press property that will trigger a function on pick file. So inside this button, we're gonna display the plus icon. So icons dot plus. Let's give it a color of black. Then the weight will be bold. And the size will be vertical scale of 22. Like this. So before we save this, I'm gonna declare this on pick file function. So let's do that here. This is going to be an async function. For now, let's just leave it empty. And let's save this. So there we can see the button, and that will be used to pick the images and send in the conversation. So now we're gonna implement picking the image logic. So we already have that. Let me just copy the import statement, and I believe we have the logic here to get the image and set into the state. So let's just copy it here. Change the name to on pick file. And everything looks good here. So when we pick the image, we're gonna save it into the state. So let's just copy the asset. Then we're gonna set it into the selected file like this. So now we have to create this state here. Let's do that. Selected file and set selected file. By default, this is going to be null like this. So now we can use that. And we have an error, and to fix that, we're gonna have a type here. So this can either be an object with a URI as string, or it can be null like this. So that fixes the issue. Now this will trigger this function and set the file into selected file. But we do need to show this file so that user can see the file is selected, and we're gonna do that here. We're gonna check if we have the selected file and a URI property on this file. Then we're gonna display the image component, and then let's give it a source as the selected file dot URI, and let's give it a style as styles dot selected file. Let's close it and save this. For the selected file, we have the following properties. It's going to show a small circular image in this button. So if I click on this, we can pick the image. Let's choose this one, and there we can see the selected file. It's just to show the user that you have selected the file. We can change the image. So that is how it's going to work. Now let's create another button to send the message. It's going to display on the right side. So after this, I'm gonna add another view and give this a style as the input right icon. For the input right icon, we have position absolute and the following properties to display on the right side of the input. So you can just copy these properties. Now inside this, I'm gonna add a touchable opacity and give this a style as the input icon, and then add an on press property which is going to trigger on send function. So here let's add the icon as the paper plane tilt. Let's give it a color as black. The weight will be fill and the size will be vertical scale of 22. Okay, so before I save this, I'm gonna define this on send function. So let's do that here. Let's just leave it empty for now. So here we have this button. Let's save this, and now it's displaying on the right side. So here we have the style properties for the input right icon. You can just copy these, and for the input icon we have the following properties. You can copy these as well. Okay, so this is looking good. Now what we're gonna do next is add a loading. So when we send the image or a message, it will show a loading, and for that we're gonna use a loading state here. If the loading is true, then we're gonna use the loading component. Let's give it the property size as small and the color will be black. And if the loading is false, then we will display this plain icon. So we're gonna need to define this state. Let's do that here. Loading and set loading. By default, this is going to be false. Let's save this. So now to see this loading, if I make this true, this is how it will look when we are sending a file or a message into this conversation. But let me just change this back. Okay, now I do believe we need some margin for this button. So let's go to this button, and here I'm gonna add the margin bottom as the vertical scale of 7, like this. Let's save this, and now it's looking good. Now let's just reload the application. So with this, the UI for the conversation is pretty much complete. Everything is looking good. If I open the keyboard, it will shift all the messages up and it's working. So we don't have any keyboard issues with the content as well. So what we're gonna do next is work on some validations and uploading the image. So when we click on this button, on send will be triggered. So here I'm gonna add a condition if we don't have the message and we don't have the selected file as well, then we're gonna return from here, because a user must choose a message or a file to send in the conversation. Then if there is no current user, we will return from here as well. So we need to have a message, selected file, or user must log in before sending the message. So now I'm gonna work on uploading the file on the Cloudinary. So first we're gonna start the loading, and then I'm gonna add a try catch block. In case if we get any error, we'll just console log the error message here and alert the user that we have an error, failed to send the message, like this. And we're gonna add a finally block where we set the loading to false after all of this is done. Okay, so in the try block, first I'm gonna create an attachment variable where we store the file that we are sending. So if we have the selected file, that means user wants to send this file as well. So we're gonna get the upload result from a function upload file to Cloudinary, which we already have. and here we're gonna send the selected file, and the second parameter will be the folder name, so let's call it message attachments. Okay, so we're getting this error because I misspelled this. Okay, so after we get this response, we're gonna make a condition. If upload result dot success is true, that means the file is uploaded, and in that case we're gonna replace the attachment with upload result dot data, because that will be the URL of the uploaded file. But if the success is false, then we're gonna alert the user. First we're gonna set the loading to false, and then we're gonna alert the user with the error. So let's just copy this line and paste it here. Let's change the message to could not send the image. And if the file is uploaded, then we're gonna display, we just gonna console log the attachment. So let me just add console log and the attachment that is uploaded. Let's save this and let's open the terminal to see the result. So first let's choose an image. Let's choose this one and then hit upload. We see the loading and then we see the attachment in the console. So here is the URL of the file that is uploaded. If I click on it, it's going to open in the browser. Okay, so it's opened on my other display. So let me just drag that here. So this is the file that is uploaded and the media upload is working in the conversation. Now let's reload the application. Now let's see if I don't include a file and just add a message and then hit send. It says attachment as null because we did not include an attachment and it's passing all the validations, so it's all good. With this, the UI for the conversation is complete. We added the validation and file upload for the conversation. And in the next part, we'll work on creating a new message and fetching the message history.